Good evening, thapar sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Welcome to Vision India Forum, Amrit Mahotsav series, Vision India at 75. Thapar Sahab, as you are well aware and have been a part of this 15-month-long movement which is going on strong because of the support and patronage of people like you, General V.K. Singh, Admiral Dhawan, Brigadier Ajit Apte, Deputy General Counsel Himalaya Singh, so many top brass from the services. You are probably in a different league because you have given to this country a martyr. Your son, Captain Vijayant Thapar. We are in the Kargil month, 3rd May to 26th July. So we are probably towards the beginning of the Kargil conflict period, way back in 1999. And you shall be talking to us today and taking us through the times and life of Captain Vijayant Thapar, who sacrificed his life in the Kargil war, like many other colleagues of his. But we can only celebrate, we can only document, probably remember and learn from the stories of a few of them so that it can serve the memory of the youth and the next generation, especially in times and era wherein giving an inch is something which is out of the thought process of the youth of today. People like Captain Vijayant Thapar. Captain Vijayant Thapar are people who sacrifice their lives in a world where people would not give an inch when they have a meter on the side. I would like to know what makes these people think the way they think to sacrifice their lives for the nation. I mean, giving your life for the nation or for anything, for a constructive purpose, for a immortal purpose, for a purpose which will be remembered by generations. This is something which we should celebrate. And through your lens, the father of the great Captain Vijayant Thapar, you yourself have been, you were the trainer of General V.K. Singh in the NDA, IMA, if I remember. So take us through the entire process of building a great captain, great soldier like Thapar, Vijayant Thapar, and his mental makeup, because that is what needs to be known by the youth so that they can also start thinking constructively for the country. Over to you, Thapar Sahab.
Thank you very much. And thank you for all the good words that you have spoken about me and about Vijayant. You see, I am known as, I am Colonel Vijayant Thapar, but I am better known as Captain Vijayant Thapar's father. Now that is something of a distinction, which I feel only a few lucky parents get. Normally, children are known by the name of their fathers. But here is a father and mother who are known by the name of their son for the kind of work, for the kind of manner in which he lived his life, exemplary manner in which he lived his life. So therefore, today I would only like to say that if you are a son, then you should be a son who will lend his aura or his name to his parents. They should also be known as so-and-so's parents. So that's what I feel. Vijayant strongly believed in the content of his life. What was it that he wanted in life? He was very focused and he was to the core of his heart an Indian. I mean, on his school bags, on his books, on his everything. India was prominently written, Indian flag was made, and Indianness was very much at him. He was very, very proud to be an Indian. Now to get down to the brass tacks, Vijayant was a 4th generation officer in the Indian Army. So the thought of his joining any other profession as a career neither occurred to him ever, nor it crossed our minds that he will go anywhere else. It was predestined or what do you call, into him, it was recorded into him to be with the armed forces. Whether it was the Air Force or the Indian Army was immaterial. So as I said, he led a very value-based life. And those are the values that stuck him in the time of great stress in the Battle of Tololing and later on in the Battle of North, where, mind you, at the age of 22, he sacrificed his life. And that also very enthusiastically taking on the enemy. Now, as I said, his objectives were very clear in life, and that was to join the Indian Army and do something from the something for the country. That was from the beginning his all. I mean, his games, his toys, his literature, his books were all about the armed forces and about how he has got to go on in life. Now, one aspect of his life was that not only did he believe in India in every way. For example, I'll give you one example. Somebody brought a t-shirt from America for him. And his mother gave it to him to wear, but he refused to wear it because it was having an American flag. So we were taken aback, I mean, normally. But then later on, we saw him after an hour or two. He had purchased a sando vest and painted it in Indian colors, and he was wearing that. So that's the kind of spirit that was imbibed in him from the very beginning. He was very simple, uncomplicated in his character and full of life, Josh, what we need so badly in the Indian Armed Forces. Now, therefore, just imagine that at that time when this battle took place, he was 22 years old. 22 years old. And he had a great faith in the deities, particularly in Karni Mata, who was the deity of two Rajputana rifles, in which he was at that moment of time. And he believed that as long as her hand is on him, nothing will go wrong. So when he went into the battle and otherwise, he always prayed and prayed, always prayed before he went. Now, therefore, we lost him at the age of 22. I won't say that we lost him, but physically he was gone and he was just 22. And then I thought that this spirit about which you are today having a program is worth putting down for all the Indians, for the young, for the generations to come ahead. This spirit, if they can emulate the spirit of India, that would be wonderful. And therefore, we decided to put it down in a book. It was difficult for me, but I wrote this book. And it is called Vijayant at Kargil, which is the topic of today's discussion. So we put it down in this book. And I dare say that we have made a Hindi translation.
Can you lift it up? Can you lift it up?
Vijayant at Kargil, Penguin, available at Amazon and other portals. And the book was very popular with the youth. And 4 reprints were made in 5 months' time. Now a Hindi version is available and an audio book is being made. So out of this, the most striking thing, of course, most people know about this, but some may not know. So therefore, I'll just quickly go over this document, which is in my hand now, and which is his last letter to us, which speaks volumes and volumes of the man he was and what ought to be the values of everybody in life. So I'll just briefly go through this. He writes, this was one day 2 days before he was killed. He wrote this letter at a place called Knoll, the base of a place called Knoll. So he writes, "Dearest Papa, Mama, Birdie, and Granny, by the time you get this letter, I'll be observing you all from the sky, enjoying the hospitalities of Apsaras." Now that is a frame of mind of a very positive officer who's seeing death almost in close proximity. I have no regrets about losing his life. I have no regrets. In fact, even if I become a human again, I will join the Indian Army and fight for my nation. Please see that spirit. That is the spirit which we want all Indians to imbibe. Not only this life, but in the next life also, he is wanting to become an army officer and fight for his country. Then he says, if you can come, please come and see where the Indian Army fought for your tomorrow. Now he wanted to tell me, and he wanted to how well they had acquitted themselves in battle in a very, very difficult situation. Tololing, both Tololing and the three Pimple attack is gone into history. So he wanted to acquit himself well with me. He knew that it is very difficult for others to go there, but he knew that his father is an infantryman and he will go there. So he wrote to me. By the way, I have been going there every year. And for 16 years, I've been going on top. But last 4 or 5 years, because of age now, they don't let me go on top. Now, then he writes, as far as the unit is concerned, the new chaps should be told about this sacrifice. Right. And I hope my photo will be kept in Alpha Company Mandir, their Mandir, with Karni Mata, their deity. Whatever organ of mine can be taken, should be taken. Now you can see that even at that moment of time, he was thinking of giving something, not taking something. Then he writes, contribute some money to the orphanage and keep on giving ₹50 to Ruxana per month and meet Yogi Baba. A word about Ruxana. Ruxana was the daughter of a very poor woodcutter in Kupwara. He was killed by the terrorists quite mercilessly in front of her, and she got into a withdrawal symptom. She would neither talk nor would she play like a normal child or nothing. So when Vijayant came to know her, he felt very hurt and he wanted to do something for her. And therefore, he has told me that you please keep on giving 50 rupees per month for her fee, school fee. So there's much to talk about it, but the time here is very limited. Suffice to say that every year I go to Kupwara and I meet this girl. And this girl has come from Kupwara to Noida and stayed a day with us here. Then he says, best of luck to Birdie. Birdie is his younger brother. Never forget the sacrifice of these men. Papa, you should feel proud. Mama, so should you. Meet Ritu. I loved her. There was the girl that he liked and wanted to marry. But that was the end. And he writes to his grandmother, please forgive me for all the naughty things that I have done. Okay, then it's time for me to join my clan of the Dirty Dozen. My assault party has 12 chaps. And then he gave us something to be very happy about, which became almost a credo in the Indian Army. It says, best of luck to you all. Live life king size. So that is in brief, his philosophy in life, live life king size. Yours, Robin. So this was the last letter of a very brave son, I may say, of whom I'm very proud. And really, sometimes I think that every son of India should imbibe this kind of a spirit All the young people should imbibe his spirit and put nation before everything else. That is what all. I would say that, you see, uh, death is almost certain. Anyone who's born, he's got to go. But, and therefore, it is nothing to worry about. It is always the length, it is always the length of your life is never measured. I mean, you don't measure life in terms of the length. You stayed 90 years, 80 years. But it is always a depth with which is what was the content of your life? What did you leave behind for others, for the country? That really matters. And therefore, today I'm a contented man that my son has done so much that he's remembered and he's set an example for others to emulate. So that much about him. If there's anything else you want me to add, I would be more than glad to do it.
Colonel Thapar, can you hear me?
Yes.
What essentially the crux of the show today is to understand how a man like Mr. Captain Vijayant Thapar thinks or used to think. That is the most important thing. I mean, what about his education? I mean, just throw some light about how you educated your son.
Well, actually, you see, the point is that he was a fourth generation in the army, our son in the army. And therefore, really, he didn't require that kind of motivation another child would require. He was from day one with tanks, guns, fighters, and such like things. The talk in our house would always be about the nation, would always be about the kind of activities that keep going around. Do you know that at the age of early age of 6 years, he had fired a pistol sitting in my lap with at a range. So, you know, it came naturally to him. Then his moral fiber, both me and my wife and my mother, we were very, very careful about building his moral fiber, which was very, very strong. I give you an example. Besides this girl, Ruxana, I spoke about, one day they used to get 50 rupees each as their pocket money for the week. I gave him 50 rupees, and lo and behold, some beggar came outside in a very bad state and he gave his entire weekly allowance to him. And that disturbed us. We asked him, what have we given him all the money for? Then he said, look, he needed it more than me. So that's the kind of moral values that had gone into him. And I'm glad they have been emulated by a lot of people. And there's no dearth of mails, there's no dearth of people coming to me and remembering him. So that is the kind of guy he was. And I'm very happy that he
Colonel Saab,
took those
Colonel Saab, at
advice given to
22,
him.
I mean, at 20, sorry, there was a voice miscommunication. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but at 22, I mean, at 22, I mean, he's talking about organ donation while sacrificing his life. That is something is difficult to really imagine. What kind of grooming did he have to think on those lines 25 years back?
You see, now that is the parental influence. A child learns a lot from the atmosphere in which he lives. Now, the atmosphere in which he lived was always a challenge and was always about giving and not receiving. For example, when he was a small boy, he learned swimming. On his own, he learned swimming. And one day, I and my friend, we had a challenge with him, whether he can do 25 or 50 lengths of the small swimming pool in Pathankot. Do you know that he carried on doing 75 lengths? And then he had to be pulled out of the swimming pool because the chlorine in the water was so high. And you see, that's the kind of challenge he would accept. And sometimes it was kind of a firm faith in him that he's got to do what we have been telling him all the time to do.
When you wrote this book, what was the motivation that made you write this book? Was it for the new generation? Was it something else which motivated you to write this kind of a book about your own son? And you say he's a fourth generation entrepreneur, military man. He's a fourth generation army man. I think that plays a very crucial role. Am I right if I think like that?
Of course it does. You see, in a family where there are all doctors, husband is a doctor, wife is a doctor, grandfather is a doctor, when the child likes to go into medical. Similarly, this profession of arms, this noble profession of arms is not meant for everybody. I mean, the way Vijayant was groomed into it was all the time. So when he was killed, there was a lot of pain in me and my wife. We were heartbroken that, look, he's gone. But then we sat down and we thought that, look, he is done what he had to do for the country. We have lost him physically, but his spirit is still with us. Why not use his spirit to motivate the youth of the country? And that got me to write this book. And not only write this book, I go anywhere I'm called in the country to speak to the young people and give his life sketch so that they can also emulate some good points of it.
I mean, was he, when he was writing that letter, because see, I'm not one who would be talking to you and using this beautiful opportunity to romanticize Kargil. I'm not one of them, because that is not the idea of Vision India at 75, Amrit Mahotsav, and then probably the next 25 years coined as the Amrit Kal by the Honorable Prime Minister, and the year, probably the next quarter, which is going to take India, which should take India to greater heights. Probably we will reach somewhere close to where we should have been or where we were thousands of years back. We would definitely need the youth to start thinking. It's not only about the youth. It's about the mindset of the citizens of India. An India which has changed absolutely, considerably. I would not say upside down or left, right, whatever, because it has changed in the last, because we've been doing shows every day almost for the last 15 months. 100, 200 shows completed on various issues, monologues of 200 odd speakers like you. What could have prevented Kargil? And I would not like to romanticize this war. This war is gone. Nothing has changed. Pakistan is Pakistan. India is India. Kashmir is Kashmir. POK is POK. So what caused Kargil? And you people have seen it from the closest quarters. And could something have been done better to avoid casualties like Vijayant?
I think your question is so very pertinent at this point of time, because calling the enemy treacherous all the time is not on. We are running the country and the armed forces are there just to prevent that kind of a thing, that we are not taken by surprise. How is it that every time we are taken by surprise, whether it is 62 or it is later on, or it is Kargil, how are we taken by surprise? And why? Because we tried to put so much trust in the enemy's goodness, that ultimately we are surprised in this awful manner. We were caught on a terribly wrong foot, so badly caught that even the Pakistanis who write, an Air Force group captain has written a piece in which he has said that we were stunned how the Indian Army did not come to know, with so much air activity going on their side of the border, guns being airlifted, to the extent that Musharraf came in a helicopter across the LOC. He stayed a night over there. You can't have things like this going on. And then we are, Kargil was going to happen one day or the other because we had shut our eyes towards our border. I may even suggest that slowly, gradually, if we don't wake up, we might land up in the same kind of a situation again, because we are trusting China for its goodwill, for bhai and that all kind of thing. That is not on. We have an army, we have a role. It is time now to ensure that wherewithal that is required for the armed forces. Look, the MiGs are how old now? MiGs have been there when I joined the service. In 1963, the MiGs came, and they're still going on. So we can't have an army like that and still feel that we will be able to, give them a. We have to be alert. Kargil happened because we did not pay heed to the fact that Operation Badr, which Kargil was called, or Operation Koi Paima, which Kargil was called by Pakistanis, the plans for it were made in the times of Benazir Bhutto, and she threw them out of the window. Later on, rather in Ziaul Haq, these same plans were presented to him. Now, it was tactically a brilliant plan. Strategically, they didn't think that far, and they paid the price for it. So we have to be alert. We have to look, we have an army. That army's got a role to fulfill. And you have to make sure that it fulfills that role, not only with weapons, but also with the spirit. How you look at the armed forces, how you project them, and how you, it's like a racehorse, You've got to look after it, you've got to feed it, you've got to build it, you've got to train it, and then only it wins your race. When the race takes place, 2-minute race it wins, and it does the thing. So that is how I look at what we require to do. We were negligent. The intelligence was abysmal and non-existent. And thank God that the divine powers that were also helped us in that the snow melted early and our artillery and troops could come in 1 month in advance. Otherwise, things might have gone further bad for us. So that's what my request is to all those who are listening to me, that you have an army, you have to arm it to meet the threats that we envisage.
The army is not a suicide squad. It is not something which it is not a suicide squad, right? And if
no, far from it.
So if we do not, if the word of mouth spreads, or if the common kind of belief, a common parlance would suggest to the young officers of today, like Vijayant Thapar, that these are bureaucratic, hierarchies, a bureaucratic nonsense, diplomatic circus, if I may use the word. Foreign policy dramas, if these are byproducts of these kind of theatrics, then the young boys of today and even the girls who are now joining, what motivation would they have if they have the slightest of doubt, trust, faith on the higher dispensation which commands their involvement on the war front and makes them stand eye to eye with people who are economically motivated, who are motivated by terror, what makes them stand against those kind of people? If our own people who command their journey into the war zones is not something which they can trust with blind eyes. That is what I would like to know from a veteran and from the father of a martyr. Because you may say you are proud, the spirit is there with you. I would not say that about my son if he is to be joining the army too.
Well, first of all, let me remove this talk about suicidal squads and things like this. We are a very honorable and professional army. I would rather have young officers who are willing to give up their lives in battle than talk about this cowardly thing like they have in the Pakistani army, or the terrorists have, blow themselves up as human bombs and things like that. Nothing doing. We will fight. We will fight to the end as honorable soldier. Let me tell you that soldiering is the most honorable of professions. I mean, there's no doubt about it. These soldiers fight because they know that the whole nation is behind them. A soldier, you may equip, you may think that the wars are won by weapons. They are only fought by weapons. They are won by the spirit, the tremendous spirit that is existing in the people. That spirit is built up by the whole nation, leadership to all officers, to the countrymen around them, to all those people who kind of push him into. So therefore, the fact that the country is there behind him is the only motivating factor. His country is the motivating factor. In our case, in our army, it is the country, it is his army, it is his pride in his Pulton, in his unit. And that is the kind of motivating factors which must never be interfered with. I mean, now that the CDS has come and a lot of say in the matters is within the service, therefore, I think things will definitely be good and we will get a lot more to be able to give the country what they ask us for.
We have reached a stage where the law of sedition is pending decision in the Supreme Court very soon. Why I bring this, though this is not about Vijayant, it is about the mindset of the citizens of Indians. We have reached a stage in a free democracy with Article 19 on the sleeves of everyone, wherein everybody knows that they know it all. And we are fortunate that the young boys in the army are probably insulated from this kind of a poisonous atmosphere. And it is good for the nation and the borders of the nation if these boys are kept insulated from the poison, which is far more vitriolic than what we face from outside now. But any which ways, before we end the show, sir, any expectations from the government of India?
Well, actually, here, with this little instrument and with the laptop on which we are speaking, social media has become a very powerful. So to say that we will be able to keep them isolated from the evil influences that prevail in the society would be a challenge, These things will disseminate to them, but we have been very successful so far to counter this influence with the influence of the merits of the armed forces as an institute which is different to all this chaotic things that are going on. They are different. They are meant to take control of that kind of a situation. And therefore, to that extent, I think all the time, the officers, the ups. They have to be on the, because the men are also changing, no? With time, with social media, the aspirations in life, the men are also changing. And therefore, now we have a lot of openings for everyone so that they can progress and they don't suffer from any grudges.
Expectations from the government, sir? Any?
Of course, the expectations are from who else is going to give us what we want? Whatever our aspirations in terms of modernization, weapons, that's the first requirement. Then there are the feel-good factors like your accommodation, your pay and allowances, the terms of service. Now, you see, there has been some resistance. I don't know why. Suppose a cadet is killed. Take the example of the officers who are killed in battle. You know, you'll be surprised to know that the parents of the bachelors, they get only a pension, but a wife of a family of a officer who's killed gets the full pay. That's the kind of difference there is between the thing. A cadet who gets badly wounded, badly injured during his training, he doesn't get enough to sustain himself. Who's going to take care of this? The government has to take care of all these things. And you know, earlier show also had brought up this point.
Colonel Thapar, it's been a wonderful evening. We have tried to understand and map the mind and the thought process of a martyr like Captain Vijayant Thapar. First of all, my apologies to have the wrong spelling. It's as I saw on your book's cover page, it's Vijayant and not Vijayant. So it's Vijayant Thapar. And what is the meaning of Vijayant?
Vijayant means victorious in the end, or in the end victorious, whichever way you want to take it. It is associated with victory, and his battalion, 2 Rajputana Rifles, their motto is ever victorious. So how
I think what I take away, fourth generation soldier, it's difficult to match, but probably these kind of shows and people like you who spare time for the nation. This is the time you have spared for the nation, and I am sure this recording of ours today, the monologue today, will serve the purpose of many young new aspirants who wish to join the services and would also like to interact with you in the days going forward. We will ensure and we will try and do our best to see to it that the message of Captain Vijayant Thapar, the spirit of Captain Vijayant Thapar, rubs on to the spirit of the current generation and way forward. Thank you so much, sir. Jai Hind.
Before you close, I just want to make one sentence.
Sure, sir.
I'm now 80 years old. 80 years old. I am very proud of the Indian Army. I'm so happy I joined it. And I pray to God that in my next life, I get the opportunity to serve it again.
Army definitely takes care of its people. Thank you, sir. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.